Welcome to the School Photo Podcast, the show where we dive into the world of school photography, innovation, and the future of capturing school memories. With me, your host, Lee Brooker, and guests, in each episode we'll explore the latest trends, challenges, and breakthroughs in the school photo industry. With funny stories from our schools to best business practices and some new innovation to help us all. Whether you're a large multinational company, a sole photographer, or you're just passionate about the evolution of school photos, this podcast is for you. Grab a cuppa, settle in, and let's get started. This is the School Photo Podcast. Happy days.
So welcome again to episode 8 of the School Photo Podcast. Today we've changed it up a little bit. We are doing it in person and with the man, Mr Neil Sweeney. So he's invited us to his beautiful office here in the heart of school photography that is Colchester in Essex. There's so many of us around here. People listening are going to know all about the country and being in Colchester. So, Neil.
Hey mate, how are you?
Thank you for your
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Really good. How have you been?
I've brought Easter eggs, we've got fruit on the table. I know, we're ready for it, yeah. Really good.
So, thanks for having us, first of all. We spoke a lot over the last year. Is it a year this?
Yeah, it's a year anniversary last month.
Congratulations.
Yeah, whole year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, or commiserations, depends which way you look at it. But, yeah.
So let's go, anyone that doesn't know your journey story, what you're about.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Neil's journey.
Yeah, where I've been.
Where do we start?
Okay, let's go back. Probably the best place to start is my background was property.
Okay.
So I'll give a few minutes on that bit because I think that was a foundation for me. So I was a commercial agent, and with that I spent 15 years in commercial property. So what I did do in that time, I'm meeting owners, real decision makers for offices, developments, industrial units, manufacturers, distributors, retail, like all of these different genres of the whole commercial world. And what I started to see was what makes them tick, why they're growing, what they're looking at. Accounts, we'd approve them for landlords. So I started to have some really strong top level conversations. That took me through, started that at, as I say, late teens, 16, 17, whatever that would have been. Great journey, enjoyed that. And it took me all the way through my 20s, moved around, all Essex based.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess maybe just to share some of that for our international pod listeners. But
did you grow up in Essex?
Yeah, so I'm an Essex boy through and through. Even the white teeth will prove that bit. But so born and raised in sunny Southend, Essex based. Always lived and loved Essex. Now live up in Colchester, North Essex.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love this part of the country, on the border of Suffolk. Lovely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I've always been in and around Essex, businesses and so on. So so going through the journey as a commercial agent in Southend, then I moved to another town called Chelmsford. Okay. That part irrelevant, but Chelmsford's quite a big town, quite a big city, lots of commercial property happening.
There's loads going on there.
Loads going on there, so what they call it now, the Great City. Yeah. I think ultimately, if you stick a cathedral or something like that in the city, right, you've got yourself a city. But so from that, what I started to see there, Lee, as well, is I started to see just people, startups, entrepreneurs, starting companies, seed investment coming in, and then 3, 4, 5 years later coming back to me, Neil, great news, we're expanding, we need a bigger office, bigger space, and I'm watching people's journeys. So I suppose I got to a place where I started seeing opportunities, and at that point is when I found my first opportunity. We were looking after industrial units, so private or institutional investment companies. And we would put alarm systems in, or we would manage getting a contractor, putting alarm systems in and hauling up there. Building. Yeah, so while they're building these developments and vacant units as well. So you have a big vacant industrial unit and it just sits there dormant. So we'd look after it. Yeah. So I started to see how much money was kind of being changed hands just to look after the unit. Right. So I think that was where my curiosity started about security, facilities management, and looking after commercial buildings. Okay. That was where the birth of what is Securo. That was my first business. Okay. So I left the bosom of this really great business, thoroughly enjoyed it. Even when I left and I handed my notice in, the guy there who owned this business, Colin, lovely guy, we went for a beer and I just said, I need to go and make mistakes. Yeah. I need to be a bit of a master of my own destiny. Do you know? Yeah. Do you know?
I'm sure there's a lot of people that know exactly what you're saying.
And I just want to kind of do. I just want to go. I think there's more in my tank.
Yeah.
He absolutely got it.
Don't want to get to that point.
No, and I was 30 years old, and he said, "I get it. You're always, the door's open."
Yeah.
If he does watch his back, maybe he might say something differently. At the time, that was where it is. Yeah, that's where it was. Yeah. And so I embarked on what was Securo. So I left that job, the comfort and security of a good gig, great business, enjoyed being there. Knew I had more, wanted to be more, and we didn't have any money then because I was earning a living, but there was no more than that at that point.
Yeah.
So we were renting a little house just down the road from here. Actually, this office is, and I didn't want any overheads. Yeah. So my wife's parents, their house, they had a garage, same size as this office, double garage, and I had a credit card, and I did this credit card, $8,000. I lined it all out, put a toilet in there, and just made it ultimately a little room, like a little livable room. So moved into that with then, I remember having the chat with my wife. I said, look, I'm starting a business. I need my minimum risk, because people quite often don't set up businesses because of fear. Yeah. And they fear, if this doesn't work, I've got overheads, I've got to have these commitments. Yeah. Families, majority of the time.
£40,000 a year salary. How do I replace that?
How do I replace that? So I can either have a loan or an investment, but the majority of the time it's fear-led. So for me, was how do I remove the fear? Well, just have my outgoings as low as I can get. So moved into the garage with my wife. I think my Liliana was 3. Okay. Tiffany got pregnant.
So, wasn't that bad then, was it?
Yeah. Oh, it was a romantic garage. Yeah. But it was, at this point, it was like you make or break, right? Yeah, I had the comfort that I could go and find work again and go back into a game. So that, there was a case that if this fails, I can default. Yeah. But at the moment, I've got to just go back to ground zero. Okay. So there we are, we're now in the garage. Liliana, we've got the cot in the set. There were moments, because as you know, building businesses is not an easy trade, it's not an easy gig, that it was like, shit, is this the right thing to do, right? You're hitting these barriers at times. But with all that said, I do share this story because it is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a game, isn't it?
Like it is a game. Like there's a game, there's a hustle, it's fun. So that was the earlier part of the journey. I had no learnings. I didn't have any background of owning companies. It was my first real business. I always tried little things, just none of them worked. Crikey, I've got a book of business cards and none of them failed. Yeah, but Vista Free. Yeah. But this was, this particular business. I'd seen it as a market and I'd gone at it. So set the company up, early part of the journey, just grit, determination, no visions, no clarity. It was just me and my business partner, a pal of mine. He let me use his office. He gave me a desk in the corner of the room. So I said, look, Doug, lovely guy, lovely guy. And he said, look, just use the office because I just needed somewhere to sit. Yeah. So I went there. About a month or two in, I had a pal of mine that it was a good friend, but he was a locksmith so he would change the locks for us on the units that we had. Yeah. Always kept in contact with him. Quite a sharp cookie. Mitch, he might listen to this. He probably won't. He'll be sitting on his super yacht somewhere now. I might listen to it. Sweeney's chatting away again. But we had a really good relationship in the earlier days. So he came for a check-in just to see how we were getting on. And I always remember it. We were in this cafe. All best combos happening in the cafe. Yeah, great plate over a brekkie. And it was like literally a cheese and sweet corn sort of sandwich, having a chat. And I said, look, I'm starting this new venture out. Do you want to get involved? And he went, yeah, okay. Well, what does it mean? What do I need? I said, well, if you want to come in, what can you do? And he said, well, I haven't got loads of money. He's a locksmith. He said, well, what about if I throw the van in? Right. So I said, well, I need a van. So so he threw the van in, £2,500 caddy is what we had. That went in. I wrote off 50% of the company to him. Fun. And off we went. And we scaled. And we scaled and scaled and scaled. And we grew that company. I mean, it was national. It was great fun. Yeah. It's quite a tough industry, but good fun. Okay. So through that journey, that was great. Lots of learning, people, processes, strategies, methods, what we're doing. But that was good. And then 2013, so 3 years later, I set up a management company, property management, entrepreneur.
Same clients?
But the thing is, this is the thing though, Lee, right? You see shiny things, right? We're like freaking magpies, aren't we? But it's an illness almost, because you can see an opportunity, you can smell it, and you see it and think, well, what was that? Yeah. So now I've gone, right, so I'm now spinning one plate. Yep. And now I've gone into this other plate. So I've started spinning this other plate, and this was property management. So I got some really great people around me. We started to build that. So, but at this time, we're starting to get a bit of a cash flow. Things are, we're starting to be able to take some salary from it. Yeah, we're like, okay, there's some money. We're starting to raise some money. We're borrowing some money from people. Banks wouldn't be interested in those early days. I mean, love banks. I've got great relationships with banks now because I guess there's some heritage, but it's very hard in the early because
and expensive if you can get it.
Yeah, and I get it because they're obviously their risks. They look at their risks. That's what they are, risk analysis, right? They look at maybe if they want to hedge, they've got security. If you don't have security and you're living in a garage, they're going, where's your money? Yeah. So early days, what we had is we were borrowing money on belief. People will go, I can believe you can do this and deliver.
Which is where it comes down to you.
Yeah, so you are, absolutely. So Mitch and I were out and we were building, privately raising money, and we built the company through that. So 2013, we've now formed Urban Life Property Management.
Okay.
Block management. So an arm of Securo, we were spinning so many plates in Securo. We had security, but we also had a maintenance division as well. So I had men in vans driving around, hoarding up buildings, draining buildings down. So I had plumbers, I had wet services, I had electricians, I had all these different trades. I can't hang a picture. And you've only got to ask my wife, I've still got a leaking tap in the house. I have said since. Yeah. I'm useless with that. But we've got all these trades now around us, and I don't know how to deliver trade, so I don't know the work. If someone said to me, it needs a wibble grommet, and I have no idea. So we were tripping over quite a bit there. But what we did find was there was a gap in the market for a really good block management company.
Okay.
So we formed then this block management business, Urban Life. Scaled that was good, that was successful. I had good relationships with developers, Bellways, Savills, and all these different agents and developers, and we were winning blocks. We were winning contracts. So now we're managing blocks, about 2,500 units we've got to, so it's a good size. It's a lot of stuff was going on. We built and scaled that. So then ultimately we then sold the business, one in 2019 and the other in 2021. Separately. The great thing about, so some learnings and some share is when I look at businesses now, one of my key questions is, can I scale it?
Yeah.
How scalable is it? Okay. And so if you're looking at some businesses that you go, in actual fact, let's just take a professional business, for example. It's very hard to scale an architect's practice because you need key men, right? You need key men and women. You need smart, professional, qualified people. You can't just go, let's scale it and we're going to get 100. You can't, because you've got to go and find 100 architects. And ultimately, if there are great architects, they won't come and work for you. They'll have their own practice. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I look at. With the property management, we scaled that because we know we could get the properties and the kit. Okay. We trained managers as well to become property managers, so we knew we could scale that. That was great. Then on Securo, which was that was en masse. We just needed a really clean delivery at the front end. Yeah. Strong sales team, knock on doors, win the work, deliver a brilliant product. Yeah. We were probably one of the greats in what we did in the market was the facade. This is always one for me as well, Lee, which is maybe another share, is when you look at a company, I don't want to know how big it is. No. So if you look at a business, it could be a one-man band. Okay. If you look at the way it's delivered, presented, the van, the emails, the quotes, the whole thing, if you look at it, how big's that company? How I like to think is, I actually don't know, that could have 100 people in it. It might only be 2. Yeah. But it's nice to get your business to a place that people don't know what that feels like. So Securo from the front end was very much designed to go, the facade, the brochures, the way the boys land, the engineers on site, the way they dress, the vans, the office, everything was quite slick. So I think that helped us.
Well, Pimlico done that, Charlie Mullins.
Oh, you go.
Exactly that market. Yeah. I mean, you look at the route that he went down, and his whole thing was, my guys are going to be better in the house than anybody else. Yeah. Now,
you look at if you look at that, ultimately it's a plumbers. Everyone knows Charlie Muggins. Everyone knows the Pimlico.
Everyone knows number plates.
Everyone knows number plates. Yeah. How simple is that? Yeah. Everyone knows that. It's a plumber. Give me 2 other plumbing companies in London. I couldn't give you one.
No chance. No.
So that was part of that, and it's even interesting to say because I never even connected the dots there, but that was just how I thought, and I still think like that now. So I'll always look at that. So looking at the businesses, which we'll talk on Carmel Jane and things like that, like what can I do with it? What scalability is there, and how does that grow?
But sometimes you say about not being able to hang a picture and stuff. Sometimes I think being able to step back and look at it from a different lens and a different viewpoint actually allows you to ask them questions that people that know the industry inside out might look and go, "Come on, it's obvious."
Yeah,
that might be. Yeah, might be. But when you look at the bigger picture of it,
very curious. And so then that's what's taken me to my new journeys.
Yes.
And so I came out of the business, and sold the boat, stayed in for a year before.
Get out of the garage?
I come out the garage, I bought myself a house across the field, we're out the garage, get out of that, I moved into the shed.
Let's go.
And what I did learn from when we were looking to exit, and these are just good things and they're good learns. When you're looking to exit a business, you need to go, actual fact, how important am I in the company? If I'm a real key man in it, whoever's going to buy it's going to go, well, when you go, is it going to come off? What happens to the business? So one of my things I always worked on was removing your hats. Okay. So there's about 7 hats you wear. Yeah. Sales, operations, HR, IT, finance, there's a number of hats that we will all wear, and it's almost just trying to get them off. So my goal was to demote myself to T-boy, that's the goal. Okay. So by the end of the business, particularly Securo, I was always a visionary in sense, and always kept a good eye and close to sales, because if it doesn't come through the sausage machine, then you've got a problem. Yeah. But it was actual fact getting it to a place that I can go in, make everyone cups of tea, have donuts, chat to everyone. Going. Yeah, are we on track? Look at our numbers, how does it all feel, and then grow again. So when I eventually come out of the companies, went a bit mad for a while, drove the wife crazy. Yeah,
too much time to think, too much time to do your own thing.
Yeah, I went a bit mad for a while when I came out. I think, and the reason for that, we're doing it now, aren't we? We're in the same industry now. Your head's in it. You're just great in it. You're leveraging your cash flow, your challenges. You're growing a business. That is what growing a business is. Yeah. You're so in it. I always had this belief that I had no money to a point that we had money. I could get the car and I'd have a holiday. So it wasn't like that, but no real cash. I never had wealth. Yeah, and then. You think that when you exit, there's going to be this confetti celebration. Yeah. Like you get on this mountain, but and I'm not joking, you get on the top of this mountain, and which you think is your mountain, and then you go, shit, the bear, look at the size of that mountain next door, and you go, there isn't a celebration. No. It's the most bizarre thing. And in actual fact, the celebration is 100% how I feel. It's the whole journey. It's sitting here with you. It's talking about challenges, being inspired, and it's that. And so I came out and I was like, right, and obviously every day I'd be talking to certain people, I'd be inspired in what I'm doing. It was just taken away. So it was replaced with a pound coin, but in actual fact it's quite empty. So I learned that. Yeah.
Have you heard, do you listen to Rob Moore?
He
said a very similar thing about when he sold one of his businesses and he had the Lamborghini as being the goalpost. Yeah. He was like, I sat in it, I just felt lonely.
It's so bizarre. And you get in these nice cars, and they're nice for a while, and drive around and think, it's not about this. So that is definitely something that I would say, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat.
It's definitely, we've not got to that point in our business yet, but there have been milestones when you look at monthly turnover. Once you first, when you're coming out from the business or coming and setting it up in the first place, and you've got literally nothing. Yeah. You are arse to the wall. Yes. In the garage, we're in a similar situation.
Yeah, you've got to get out the corner.
Yeah, but you're going, okay, I've got to pay the mortgage on a credit card. Yeah. Then a £10,000 a month is
it's celebration. It's celebration.
You get there and it's like, that's not enough.
But how strange is that? I remember there was a couple of numbers I remember, and one was 40,000. I remember we hit £40,000 in this month, and it was like euphoria.
Yeah, that's my.
And it was amazing. And then at the end of the term, we were winning £50,000 contracts in a morning, and it was just like brilliant, high five, right, get it in, because that's just got to keep the wheels spinning. Yeah. It's just surreal. I guess that's maybe how things just
how it evolves.
I guess it's just how it evolves, that part, but So now I'm out of the businesses and taking a bit of a sabbatical in that sense. Lots of learning.
Yeah.
You sort of find a little bit more about yourself in that sense. So not to get like namaste, but there's probably a little bit of soul searching you find at that point.
You have to have a little look at yourself.
I was 40, 40 years old, 40, 41, whatever it would have been. You know, the kids are growing older. So I think there was a little bit of that going on, which is cool to experience. But what I did then do is there's a thing that I put in the business. So there was a book, Traction. Don't know if you can see it behind me, but there is a book. I put it out here.
Neil's book.
Check it out now.
There's a link in the comments.
There's a link in the comments. There's a link in the comments. But I read this. I read the book Traction early 2016. For me, brilliance. Really good book. Now I love a book. You can see I've got loads on the shelf. And what I liked about it is simplicity. You can literally take something out and go, I like that. And so I just started putting some of these methods the tools that they use in the business. So to put a bit of context around that, I did that for the last 2 or 3 years of the company. It made the company simpler. I could understand it. I had a better grip on it.
Yeah.
I understand the numbers more. I had scorecards, accountability chart, who sits where, why do they do that? Are we clear on our vision? Where are we going?
You're not sure you were there before?
No,
you just getting
not as clear.
Go?
We were winning through graft.
Okay.
We were grit. We were doing it. We were commercially. Timing was perfect for us, but not doing it how we could have done it.
Okay, so the strategy wasn't
the strategy. So EOS brought that clarity.
Yeah.
So when I left, I then found out you could become an implementer of it. So then that was where my journey embarked.
Yes.
I didn't actually know that.
Okay.
You could actually be an implementer of what the book was, Traction.
Okay.
Which is EOS is what it stands for.
Which is?
Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Okay.
That's what it stands for, EOS. So the system, we always refer to a system and think, oh, what software, like cash flow or, all these different Sage and all these CRMs. Yeah. It's not. It's a way that you function. It's a way that you operate as a business.
Okay.
It's a way that you work. So it's almost holistic in that sense. That you will look at, it's more a case of, if you've got 30 people in the business, it's how we mobilise those 30 balls of energy.
Okay.
It's how they are they 100% clear on the vision? Yeah. Do we even know what the vision is? Are we clear on the vision? Is it shared? Does everyone, if you was asking on the business, where are we going? Okay. Where are we going in 10 years? What does it look like in 3 years? Yeah. Like what are we doing this year? Like most companies actually don't know that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, actually you say that's
it's not, and not even putting you on the spot. But imagine if I sat and went, okay, what's your 3-year picture? You kind of go, well, I've got an idea. Now you might have a total bomb-proof, but then if you had it, if I then went to your team and I said, so where's Happy Days going? Would they know?
So they'll say that Leo can't have something.
Leo would lead up, right? Because because it's an entrepreneurial business. Yeah. Because you're like, well, we're just doing it. We're making it happen. So that part, imagine if all of your team were 100% clear on where you actually wanted it to go, and they bought in, they buy in, they're on the Happy Days bus, like they're loving life, and you can convert the unit into a bus.
We've got the truck.
You literally have got the truck. Yeah. So they're on the Happy Days truck. But imagine it that everyone's clear. So now they know what their role is in the business as well. So now they're clear why they're here to do it. Yeah. Everyone wants to be inspired. Everyone wants to have something that's fun and enjoy it. So that's a big part, the vision. Then it's the traction, which is the measurables. What are the measurables around the company? What are we tracking? What are our numbers? Yeah. What do they all look like? Are we tracking those? So it's putting disciplines through the business to actually get it on the ground. And then the final part is the healthy.
It's deeper than management, just management accounts.
It's
more the sharing
It's much deeper than that.
I don't think many people will be necessarily sharing all that information with their teams.
No.
A lot.
But isn't it funny why they don't? What is it that we don't want to share and hold back? Is it because we go, well, if they knew what sort of revenue there was, then they would go, well, I need a pay rise.
I think there's a bit of that.
There is a bit of that, and I get that. But if you're transparent, and if you're truly honest to that, then if you're saying that, these are our revenues. I mean, we share our numbers with our team, and I'll be doing it tomorrow, State of Company. It's about being clear with your team, where, are they clear on the like we said, you might go, okay, well, I do know where I want to go. I've got a good gauge, but how clear are they on that? Then, so it's the vision, It's the traction part is the disciplines, the measurables. Or what are we looking at? Are we looking at weekly numbers? I mean, they're a big thing for me. Weekly numbers, are we on track, off track? How's it all look? So I'm really getting a pulse.
And presumably we'll come on to Carmel Jane in a minute and your journey there. But presumably with this being such a seasonal business and this industry is...
Oh my God,
was your previous business in seasonal?
No, that has been a learning. That's, oh my God, I mean, seasonal companies, I mean, I've never known anything like it.
So to go back to where you were with these weekly numbers, that must completely throw that off.
100%. Now, it does, but it doesn't.
Okay.
So what would happen here, you will look back at last year, so let's just say Q1, we've just gone past Q1. What you do is you look back at last year in Q1 and go, how many widgets did we sell in 2024? Well, we sold 300.
Yeah.
Okay, what we'd like to do this year, we'd like to do 330. So that, you bite-size it, and then you break it down into the weeks.
Yeah.
Because if you do it across the whole year, it's
all over.
You can't.
Yeah.
So that's how you actually do it. You break it down into 90 days and then into weeks.
Yeah.
So now I know, in actual fact, if we are on track, we're still actually then revise, set your goals.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, subconsciously, that's exactly how I've always done it. It's compared to the last couple of years and gone, well, where are we? What's the difference? What have I done to improve or grow?
Yeah.
How many schools have we got? How many heads?
Yeah.
So
Let's gauge numbers. And you know, it's so important.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many companies don't do that. It's amazing how companies really, they don't have a true vision and they're not actually, they don't know their numbers.
Wait for the accountant to give them a net profit at the end of the year.
There are companies out there, Lee, that go, well, I think we're doing all right, there's some cash in the bank. They won't know how the business has really done until the accountant sends them their accounts. I mean, that scares me. Yeah. I mean, I would like to think we know it to the week. Like we're going, how are we? And I have to talk to the finance department about that. They go, what? We've got the clothes. Running around with the hair on fire. Why is making it up? And then the final part is the healthy, the companies have to be healthy. Yeah. Most aren't. Most companies are dysfunctional, is the truth. Yeah. They're not communicating, they're not really open and honest. They can't really commit to the calls because there's friction, which has happened, and that can happen at leadership level, that can happen at ownership level. Owners, founders, they don't get on,
and
we hear it all breaks down. Well, if they don't care, why do I care? It's
developmental. Again.
Healthy is super important to me. I won't have it I won't have it in my life, let alone in my work. And how unfair is it that you've got anyone walking into your business that they're not happy to go, they're not happy to be there, they're not supportive to it, they're not helping others. Just how unfair is that that you put anyone in your business that
and expect to pay them and they deliver everything for you.
Exactly. So healthy is very important. Most companies aren't. That is, you see, the thing is, there's two ways that you work in a business. You'll work smart and then there's healthy. So what this is the smart part is what you do, how you do what you do. The way that we take our photos, the way that we run it through operations, the way the print, the pack, the send, all of that, that's just the doing, that's the smart. But so often people miss the healthy. Are we really communicating? How are the photographers? Are they good? Are they clear? Are they well prepared? Are they trained? Have they got everything they need? Have we got all the support they need? That's the healthy bit. You know, and I think that could easily be missed.
I think hugely, that is absolutely is missed.
Yeah.
Particularly again with the seasonality side of things. We've got loads that we need in September. We need to get freelancers on. We're going to train them for a week in August, and off you go.
Yeah, go for it. Off you go.
Go down.
Absolute chaos. Your hair on fire, like I say. Just how unfair is it? Just so with that perfect example, we need to make sure that they're really well supported, they're well trained, they're prepared, they know what they're going into.
Within the business.
They have mentors. All of that. They're wrapped and they're supported, and that's just that part. You've got that through the whole company.
Because again, we keep banging this seasonality, but when you come to your packing department, and when you come to people that are coming in and people that are using the printers that maybe didn't run for 3 months, that translation of the health.
All of that. So communication and that thing is, Lee, is are you really open and honest? And I say this, I mean, I do this with clients I work with on EOS, because so on the EOS front, that's what I do. It'll always be a part of my life. EOS, I love it because I work with clients all over Europe, and I work with clients that from, my smallest is probably a company of 6 people, my largest is a company of 270 people. So, and they range from a revenue of $1 million to 45 million, so you know, some good organisations, but they are entrepreneurial companies, they're entrepreneurs. And that's the big one is, and I always going there is, are you open and honest at leadership level? And then all the way through your tears and your support, is everyone really? It's quite difficult to do.
Yeah, and I suppose
sometimes you hold stuff back, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose a lot of times, I mean, I've always said you can't lie to the mirror.
No.
That's the, you can't bullshit the mirror.
Don't bullshit.
When you look at yourself
today, you can
come in and say, well, we're telling everyone the truth and we're being open, we're being honest, but I think we're probably all being involved in businesses where you can see that that's not happening. And other people can see that that's not happening. And by that point, the health that you speak about, I think, completely falls apart because there's no trust.
And that's where the baseline is, because it starts with trust. I'm so pleased you said that word, because that's the part that it starts with. Do I trust you? And do you trust me? Because if we don't have that bit, I can't build on any of it, can I?
No. Well, where do you start?
Where do I start? So that's been a really big, so healthy and smart, I think that's been an interesting share. It's a big thing that I've learned on EOS and something that I put in Carmel Jane as the business, and I will continue just to share that with everyone, and for people on the pod that's going to have a listen.
Love it. So let's go into the Carmel Jane situation.
Why we're here?
Photography. So it's but I think that I wanted us to talk about that really because it's so relevant to. There's so many people that are going to be listening and going, even if it's just that question that people ask themselves, am I honest? Well, let's find out the truth.
Are you honest?
Yeah.
Am I?
But so there's we've got big companies that have been in the business for years throughout the industry. It's been going forever. It's a very it can be a very insular industry. We spoke about that from day one, didn't we? But tell us how does that come about? How do you go from being jetting around to...
So I have known Carmel for a long time. Over 10 years, we've been in the same networking groups, we know each other, we check in, how you getting on and so on. And Carmel came to me and said, look, I'm thinking about doing an exit. What does it look like? And you'd experienced it a couple of times. What should I look for? What are the numbers? Like just all around it. So we spent a bit of time together. She went away. She had someone that was interested. I think that's how that was the birth of how that started. But then from that didn't perform for whatever reason. And I said, look, I'd love to get around the table. I remember actually walking Duke.
Right.
I don't even watch my Leaky Dinkers, but you'll see Dukey boy charging around. And I remember walking with the boy, and I just checked in with her and said, is anything going to happen? How are you getting on? Have you seen proof of funds? Like, have you seen commitment? How much money's been spent on due diligence? Are you really seeing the signs that they're moving? And so from that, we just got chatting around it. I said, I'd love to get around the table. And that's what we did. So that was how it come about.
Fantastic.
Now, don't have a background in photography. I'm not a photographer, and I never will be. I quite like taking a little pic of just having a wander.
Strong selfie cam.
I've got a great selfie stick. That's probably about my measurement of my ability in photography. But I think my skill set is people and just business and just.
And that was already a very successful business. The way that they've built up over the last few years has been on everyone's radar. I think in the industry.
It's at 13 years old. It's very well established, very well known. People know of it. And I was talking to someone only yesterday. Oh, Carmel Jane, because they do similar to Happy Days. Oh, my children take photos. They get photos there. So it's got very well branded, well recognised. It had a lot of the ingredients scalable. It had a lot of the ingredients that I look for in businesses. So, and also coming from very gritty businesses, block management, problems, complaints. It was thankless management. It just is. No one rings up and says, what, thanks for fixing the fence. No one's interested. The leak's done. So. That was that, and then security. Well, it's security. That's and construction. I mean, my God, what a combo! So you were at war most days with that. Just in general, just everything: cash flow, funding, building, growing, scaling, competition, all of that. So coming into this industry for me was actually really, really nice. Breath of fresh air. It's what we're even doing. The actual thing around it. It's really, the subjects, our students, the children, the photos. It's lovely. It's a nice thing. It's a great memory for the parent. Like it's just a nice thing.
Is that there is a very. There's a very real, humble, kind.
The tradition. We all you're fond of it. I remember getting my photos of me and my brother. I remember I perched up on the bench even when we were kids. I'd get in, look to the side, and all, it's something, and it's making me smile now because it's something quite beautiful about that. Now, I've never had that. I've never been involved in any industries like that.
No.
So in coming into it, so now from that, I'm a year anniversary in. I came into the business, and thanks, mate. Yeah, thank you. And so now I remember my first day, new kid on the block, coming with my packed lunch and my Transformer packed lunch box, and it was like, but I was very open and honest again because at that. But what I am, at that point, those early days, I have to build the trust. They have to. I've got to show it. Yeah. So the vulnerability.
That would have been a big thing for that team. For that team to see someone new coming in and going, okay, well, I've got all these great ideas, and we're going to change this, and coming in with the energy. I imagine that going to any team like that is going to be challenging. Yeah.
And I remember coming in the first day, and it was brilliant, but it was imposter syndrome. Yeah. Overwhelmed. Yeah. Like, okay, what makes it all tick? I'm confident. I'm confident. I believe in what I am. Yeah. But it was okay, where do I even go? What do I actually do? Because the businesses I built them from a napkin. Yeah. I designed the logos. Right. I created the name. Securo is Italian for safe and secure. It was one of those, it was, I know where this wasn't, I've just come in and it's oven ready.
They've got it running. Yeah,
it's running right, Neil, this is what we do. And it took me a long time, Lee, to just go, who does what and why? Yeah. Just the language that.
And then trying to get again, we talk about truths and we talk about the health of it, trying to get the truth from them people without them thinking you're trying to trip them up. Yeah. You don't need to be here.
Exactly, yes. And it's 15 grand. And it's true, so you're kind of looking at, and I just looked at the whole spectrum, from start to finish, the client journey, internally, externally, who does what, why they do that, and what EOS allowed me to do was bringing that in, created and formed a structured leadership team. Okay. So there was clarity at that role. Then it was clarity about where we're going, the vision. So again, and I leaned on all of the tools that I used. So that was brilliant. That plugged straight into Carmel Jane. That made my life easier.
I bet, yeah.
Accountability chart, who sits where. So I'm just using these tools, right? I'm going actually about who does sit where. Yeah. And we've lined it all out. What are scorecards? What are metrics? We don't really know. Like, we know we've got all the numbers. Yeah. They were there. They're in the business. But what are they? So I've spent a whole year being very observational. Yeah. We did move off a particular arm, a department of the business, which was film.
Yes.
You might have seen or heard of that. I don't know.
We did see, I mean, probably a lot of people listening will be aware of it. And I think part of why we want to do this and have this conversation is to just put to bed any of these silly myths and preconceptions that people might have of saying, because with the greatest respect, someone somewhere will have been looking and going, oh, they dropped that. Yeah, that didn't work. They failed. Well, and because
absolutely.
The market that we're in, I mean, let's call it what it is. It can be, and it is. Yeah, we've got a finite number of schools. Yeah, and we're all competing. Yeah, and there's not a lot of us, is there, in the market? No. You might be maybe there's 10 in the UK. Yeah. That do what we do. Yeah, and a big reason why I wanted to come and sit on the sofa and have a conversation.
On the casting.
Here we go. It's good, aren't it?
You're always welcome.
Yeah. Is because we've spoken about this earlier on. We as businesses are going to cross paths by the nature of us both having salespeople out on the road. And the whole purpose of us doing this podcast, and we had the thing up at Birmingham recently, was a case of going, actually, can we work together? Can you be genuinely truthful and open and honest and not try and catch each other out? And I know that we can, but also we mentioned earlier, didn't we, that there is a group of companies that may have, they've only been one-man shows for a long time. Yeah. That have then got their teams and it's them against the world. Yeah. And actually, how do we get around that?
Well, in industries, there is something that's called an evolution and a revolution. And in companies, it's the same. You hit ceilings. Yeah. So in industries, you'll always hit a ceiling. Yeah. Technology is a huge driver in all economics, as we know that. That we're driven by a lot of technology-based systems, software, processes. Yeah. So you have to keep innovating. So we're putting a lot of that into our businesses. But if you actually look at the industry, if you look at the lots of very well-established businesses. Yeah. But they will, and as all companies need to, there needs to be a revolution of that, or an evolution. And that's just it.
Whether that's internal, whether that's stepping out.
Absolutely. And the key for that is time. It's something I can't stop. We can stop a lot, but you can't stop that. So because of that, there is a natural evolution that will just progress. So with that, that's not to say that a longer, more established company isn't going to have this evolution or revolution, but time will make it happen. It has to keep growing. If that's a change of guards, whether that is other companies integrating, whether that is partnerships forming, whether that is companies just locking the door up and going, it's not for me anymore, I'm going to retire. Whatever it is, that's fact. That is going to just happen.
And I think when you were talking about trust and health, going back to that side of it, that if those longer established companies are looking at their internal teams and being honest and being truthful, that gives them a much better chance of passing that on and retaining it through internally, as opposed to having external people coming in. But I think that it's a difficult, and without going into numbers, it's a difficult one to work out. How do you value something that doesn't have a huge tangible value I mean, we are built on trust again, aren't we? We are going into schools that say, yes, you can come back next year. If we turn up on that morning,
if they don't,
and they go, no, not today, thank you, we're using so and so, there is not. It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. So companies. So that, I mean, I'm intrigued, and I'm relatively well adversed with values of companies. I've sold companies, bought companies. So you know what makes them tick. And if you were to look at a smaller photography business with 1, 2, 3 maybe in the business, maybe they're actually all at the helm as well. So they're out on the roads and taking photos. The value of that, in terms of its value as a company, pretty much it's zero in its value, because there isn't really anything there. Because why? Going back to our very earlier point, you've got all the key men in the seats. So, but what you do have there, you do have a value on the relationship that they have with their schools. Now, they might have been there for 10, 15, 20 years, and they've got a great relationship. Now, that has a price. So you put a price on the head, and that can fluctuate between £1, £2, £3 per head, whatever you agree, but it sits between there somewhere. That's this kind of range it will sit between. And then you might have, that's why these are slightly tweaked dynamics, that you might have of a smaller business of 3, 2 might want to stay in it and just do some photography, and it just turns out, because one wants out, now it doesn't really work anymore. But so the 2 of them might say, well, can we stay in? And you say, great, stay as a photographer, stay within us, we give you all the support, but we'll give you £1 or 2 or 3 on each head for the first year or 2, or whatever that looks like. You're ultimately that one, you're just agreeing a place that sits for both. So that part, that makes sense. Then it gets to the more, the quirkier, well actually that's quirky, but then it gets to the place where, okay, now you've got something more established, like a Carmel Jane, like Happy Days. You've got not only have you got the established part of it, you've got stuff. You've got cameras, facility, building, cameras, kit, people, IP. You've got lots going in that. That has a value. Yes, the contract thing, by tomorrow morning you can have a phone call and have no business, but there is a value for what you've got there. The multiple for that ranges from anything between 3 and 5 is a multiple. That's how I'm seeing the space at the moment. So, and that's on EBITDA. And I know you spoke about this the other day, didn't you? I mean, and that, what even word? What even is that? It's like, what even is that word? Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortisation. It's like, strip it all back, you add some numbers back into it, and it gives you your mass. That's one way of working it. Alternatively, you've got another place which is looking at your gross revenue. There can just be a multiple of that, and that might be 1 or 2 of just revenue. So there are a couple of different ways of skinning it. But I think as well, there is a bit of subjectiveness in there as well.
I think there's a huge amount of subjectiveness in there.
Because you might look to acquire a company and go, well, I don't actually need the brand. I don't need the necessarily relationship. I don't actually need the photographers even. I've got a great team. So how does that? Well, that's just where you just go and play and work and see if there's a fit. What there must be in every transaction is a win-win. You've both got to go, that worked for me and it worked for them, and it's perfect. But
there's going to be people listening to this and watching this that are in exactly that scenario. Going, right, okay, I've got whatever I've got, however many schools,
Yeah.
and it's only me. I don't want to just give it up. What do we do? How do we make it? How do I monetize it?
Yeah.
I think people knowing that there is potentially a way out. I imagine there's a lot of numbers in people's heads of going, well, if I can get 500 grand for this business, then without a chance. You know, there's some things that it's never going to get to that.
Yeah.
But being, I think there are going to be lots of sort of changes and we've already seen it with a couple of other businesses in the space locally to here, haven't we? So where do you see from the year that you've come in and spent time within the business, where do you see the industry going? Not necessarily business specific, but where do you see it's a great industry with a lot of history, a lot of tradition. Obviously, we're all trying to do things a bit different. We're trying to do maybe different styles and backgrounds. Lots of small tweaks, I suppose, really, just to stand out.
I see it like aviation. Let's put it to that one. You've got to still get on the plane, and you've still got to land at Malaga.
Yeah.
And I'll put that in a context with. We still need to take the photo of the child, and then it gets still sold to parent. That's simple, and the school need their SIMs. Yeah. So there are some real core parts that won't change. I don't see that there is going to be an absolute blowout Amazon that's going to rock up and go, oh, no one saw this. Yeah. I don't see. I think that we need to become better in AI. I think our systems and softwares and the platform users that we have need to up their game. I think we need to become better there. I think the customer service can always level up. Yeah. I think the way that we deliver the product, absolutely, but the actual core, that's not going to change.
It's what it is. It hasn't changed, is it?
That is what it is. Yeah. And I don't see that changing. And I believe, how many photos have I got of my beautiful girls on my camera? Oh, I've got thousands, all sorts of going. You know, it's. Do I buy the school photo? I absolutely do. There's something more deeper to it, and I believe that it'll always stay. Yeah. I believe, because I think we've actually gone through a time already that you would have really felt that
with the phone cameras being so accessible.
Yeah, and if you look at something like proms, for example, I mean that was a good game for you, I guess. I mean, I've only been in it a year.
Yeah, I still do proms. We don't do a massive amount of them.
No, you do less now, or did you then?
No, I probably do a similar amount now, but we've changed the way we do it. So we used to do it. We used to do a $5. Whoever's in the picture pays a $5. Everyone gets a copy of it. That was when kids came to prom with cash for a Coke and whatever else they came with. That over probably 4 or 5 years ago, they just didn't come with money anymore.
Right.
And if you try and get them to pay on their phone with a card, it's all messy. So we changed that to a prepay model.
Right.
And we said to the schools, right, if you add a £5 to every ticket price, everyone will get a picture.
Smart.
So we invoice the school for however many people are coming. When they turn up and they get out of the car, we make sure we do a red carpet shot of every child.
Right.
We print one per picture.
Right.
And then we'll do pictures through the evening. They'll be uploaded onto the website where there's a link, and then they can go and purchase from there.
Brilliant. See, now that, because what you've done is you've solved this bittiness. Yeah. Have you got your money? Have you got your card? Have you got your payment? No, it's just that's already done. Yeah. All you now need to do is send your top there, get the set up, take the picture, it gets uploaded.
It gets printed.
Oh, that's interesting.
It gets printed and it gets given straight to...
So you're still seeing a market there, albeit probably not as strong as it maybe would have been.
No, I mean, realistically, we know if we've got a school of 200 kids and we know that we're going there for £1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many people going to say, I don't want to do that for 2 hours.
Yes.
And that actually isn't a complicated sell to a school. As long as we do it, so, we've booked all of our schools in January, February, March.
Yeah.
So they know to make sure that ticket price includes it.
That's a good share for the listeners. That really,
the historic schools know how it works, and it's just a given now. And it's like, right, well, you come to do the pictures, and we've got a couple of schools of the big schools that we'll put the photo booth in there as well.
Yeah,
so we'll say it's £5 for just their picture. If they want the photo booth, it's £7. So they make their decision beforehand.
And this is a bit of kit. This photo booth.
Yeah,
this is something that
either a big inflatable photo booth. It takes pictures, prints out a 6x4. We've also got the 360 video one, which they stand on it, do a little dance around. It gives them a slow-mo video. Yeah. But again, so we'll then charge £7, £7.50, depending on school or regional travel. But we know before we go how much we're going to earn on that one. I mean, that's way more predictable than a school photo.
Yeah. See what? So that's a really good example. So what my default when I listen to those sort of ideas, my default is, could I scale that? You kind of could, but how many boots do I want? And it's, you know,
Yeah,
could I do 1,000 of them in the summer?
Yeah.
You wouldn't really want to.
You're going to have an awful lot of people and kit and time and effort.
Yeah, and so...
And you've only got 2 weeks to do it in.
Yeah,
because the prom season is 2 solid weeks.
But locally, servicing it, definitely a sort of a nice proper.
Yeah, as a little add-in for a little bit of extra. As we're going into June, July, when we know July, August is always quiet in this industry. We also have a real big win with football cup finals.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
So the cup finals we don't have a lot of joy with tournaments. So if anyone's listening and can tell us how to do tournaments, please come at me.
Why do you think? Why does it not work with tournaments then? You think?
Well, I think that if we go late August, or if we go to the tournaments and they've already been to 4 or 5 of them that season already, there's no motivation to buy. It's got to be a real special standout picture for mum to go, that's better than any of these 7 I've seen at the last.
Isn't it interesting that it's the tournament, it's the big end, it's the...
Well, I don't know how big they are for the 5-a-side tournaments. Let's talk grassroots local football.
Yeah.
I don't know that they are such a big deal because a lot of them, they're not in their proper team. They're trying out for a new team maybe. I'll come to the tournament, we'll give you a couple of games and see if you're any good.
Right.
So there's not a motivation to buy there. So what we have found is with League Cup finals, that's where we've had a huge win. So we work with a few local leagues, a couple of local leagues, and we will take the picture beforehand, we'll upload them, or we'll print them before half time, and they're all ready on the table.
Ready to go.
And speak to the parents and hustle the mums and show them all their pictures.
Yes.
We've all got a stadium background, the border is colour coded to their kit.
Yeah,
so
good.
it's a process that we take the pictures at the beginning, take a team picture and an individual picture. We help the league they have to do player checks to make sure everyone's eligible.
Yeah.
So we will almost manage that queue for our school photo experience, and we'll say, right, come through, click, go and see this gentleman, tell him your name, make sure that you are him. Takes 5 minutes per team.
Because I mean, how many clubs are out there?
Loads.
Thousands.
Yeah. And
Tens of thousands across the country. Must be.
100%.
Mustn't there?
Yeah. And what that leads into is a service and a product that they take home there and then.
Yeah.
With our branding on it, that we can then remarket to get the club work.
Yeah,
so
it's extremely emotive. Yeah. I've learnt that quite quickly.
And having it done by half time makes a massive difference to the sales.
Yeah.
It's going to make 300 quid difference a game, because if you leave it till the end, you've got a loser.
Yes, yeah. No one wants to buy the loser, folks. It's not a loser, they're runner-up. It's all about the game. No, you lost the game.
Yeah, but if we do it by half time, and we try and hustle it by then actually they've got a real tangible reason to go, yes, I love it. And then
smart,
we'll ask the mums, go down and show friends, and you have to have a bit
it's good fun.
Having a great person that's there selling it. And we also have 98% of them throughout the course of
I can imagine. Very emotive, similar to dance. Yeah, I mean, that's something.
You guys have got experience in doing that.
And that's a very similar. It's there, the show's happening, they've got all their, it's all the buzz, it's now, you buy them online, but it's now is where they...
And do you do print on the day on dance?
No, they're printed ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're print packed, when the show's happening, they're all laid out, we've got 2 sales and they're there, come and have a look at the photo.
Are you doing
little amazing
teams, or is it all individual?
All individual. There are group ones as well, they're besties or in their costumes, but primarily they're individuals, individual packs.
With them, and hopefully we'll speak to some of them, but some of the guys that are over in America, they'll turn up and do the dance competitions, and they're putting big team panos.
Big in the States.
8, 9 printers just spitting them out. And you look at the numbers and think,
wow,
that is, they're in the tens of thousands of dollars for a weekend.
Wow.
And we kind of need to speak to someone about that.
But this is all part of what we're doing. It's just being curious.
Yeah.
What works?
How does it work?
How does it work? What do you do? I think, just my year of being in the business, that I don't know how to hold a camera. I've never been in this industry. I don't know anyone, and I'm aware I'm the new kid on the block. So I'm definitely not walking in saying, well, I know, because I know nothing. Let's be really clear. And so I've just been very curious and just very much, well, why would you do that? We bought some staging.
Yes.
Why did we buy that? For me, that was there was a particular staging business.
Yeah.
And you know it well, right? And they were coming out, they wanted to come to retirement. I heard about it, and I said, okay, well, if we don't buy the staging, well, where do we go? We don't really go anywhere, really. There's a couple of companies that do it very, very well, but they may not even want to work with you.
Yeah.
And
that is exactly, we've touched on that before, haven't we? That's exactly that misconception
Yeah.
of a brand.
So, and with that, and I won't call them out because it's absolutely not fair, but it was only recently I reached out and said, oh, could you support me on some larger staging? And it was just, we just won't do it. It's just, we don't need to do it. We won't do it, we don't need to.
Yeah.
Where my take on it is, let's buy it, let's have the control that we can actually still have a space, but actually, in fact, let's just put it out to all the other companies. Like, let them use it. Like, let our other businesses that are in our space, let them equally have the opportunity and work with it. So that was why we bought that. Now I'm on the learn there. It's not profitable. It doesn't make loads of money.
Yeah.
It's not about that. But what it is something that we can actually have and own control. Because imagine it going not into the wrong hands.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're not gangsters, but oh, I've got the staging. I'm going but what it is it allows us to then go, okay, like just make sure that we are continuing to offer that.
Yeah.
That
Well, I think
relationship.
that's been the staging side of things has been sold against for the last few years.
Yeah.
In favour
For the
of
green screen. Yeah.
Because it's easier to do on the day.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at adding it all up though, is that once you've got the staging up and you've got someone done and the stages back on the trailer, by midday, that job has got to be colour corrected, printed, your job done.
It's out.
Whereas the other cost on the back end of doing it the green screen way, and people will argue whether it looks better or not, but the big thing that staging gives is the experience that schools will always say.
Yeah.
Schools, your old school head teachers will be like, well, we miss the experience. We miss that, all the children together, a bit of the fear, a bit of the wobbles, you know, get up there, enjoy it, and talk about it after.
Yeah, I mean, it's green screen is works. It's great. It's got its place, but it absolutely can't be like the real deal.
No.
It just can't. It's just not.
Yeah.
You know, and as I say, not from a photographer, but just from looking at a photo, you can just see it. If you do look at them, there is day and night in it. You just kind of go, oh no, that is the real deal because of the nature of it. When it's just in a frame and it's up on a wall, you wouldn't notice the difference because it's 3 metres away and it's just a sea of heads. You come to it and you go, okay, I can see it. And I think more than that, it's the experience of it and so on. So
I think the difficult thing with the whole school stuff is there's probably not many people that are making that profitable as a day's work.
No.
Like when you're taking a whole school picture, the percentage sales, percentage uptake is awful. And understandably so, because
who wants to buy that?
how much
buy
do
a
you want?
photo with 400
So
children
much of
on
that
it.
is a lost leader
Yes.
to give the school that service and that higher, the long-term images on the wall that they have.
Yeah, and really, Lee. So that was just one, just an example of things that some moves that I'm making or we're making as a business, and just going, we buy it. No, if it doesn't work, it's all right.
Yeah. It's similar to our truck.
Okay.
A similar
Same thing.
Similar setup is that it's fantastic for us. The new portrait truck is brilliant as well, but it isn't the be all and end all. And a few people you probably heard, a few people have gone, oh, what if it rains? Well, what if it rains? Don't worry about it. We're going doors inside.
Yeah.
But having those slight differences across our own businesses is kind of. But I don't know what I'm trying to get to. Being able to, if I need staging, I say Neil. We need some stuff. We've got to go very soon. But being able to say we need to hire staging, give us the rate, it covers the cost, it's all fine, it works.
Absolutely.
We can deliver that service to our schools. If someone comes and says, look, I really need an on-site printed studio, can we borrow the truck? Of course, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But we don't need to try and keep all cards close to all chests the whole time. I think that if these tools are out there and available, they're actually we can.
You can use them. Yeah. Yeah. So shameless plug, staging and
staging and
portrait truck. But it's true though. But what a great example for us to be able to share that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And go, it's there.
And other people will have other things that aren't sitting here talking about it and telling them. I mean, we'd love for everyone to be able to work together and share that information.
Yes.
So let's talk printing. Talk production.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big question that people have always had: is do you print your own work, and is it worth it, and should we do it? And we've all spoke to a few of the big labs in the country, and they're going to want to get involved with this side of things as well. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so when I was mentioning about the observation, that's what I've done this year. Oh, one thing, just going back to the film, because I think it's good to conclude that.
Oh, sorry,
we went off, didn't we? Just to make sure that there isn't any misconception of it. So with film, that we had the most fantastic team,
Yeah.
like so talented, the stuff that they'd be putting out.
Yeah.
And there is the but. And the but part for me is what we actually are is we are a high volume school photography business.
Yeah.
At the core, that's what we are. And quite easily, what you can do is you look at the other shiny things like we've mentioned in the past, and you could go, oh, we could do some fancy this, we could do these additions. There's all sorts of visual marketings when you're seeing it happening, and that's not to say they don't work.
Yeah.
But with the film, what we found was, what it was doing was, it was ticking and working, but I wasn't being able to grow it and scale it.
Okay.
Schools don't have money.
No.
Or if they do, they don't want to spend it. They're very frugal, and rightly so.
Yeah.
So if you approach them and say, should we do a nice new prospectus video for you, or it's a prospectus video? Then yes, but it's not a £5,000 great fancy promo video. It can't be, because they've got a very tight budget.
Well, the irony there is that the schools that have got money are already over-subscribed.
Right.
The purpose for doing a video is to get
Yeah.
more bums on seats, isn't it?
So when if what you wouldn't do is bring a film offering to the market new. If you said, right, should we think of a business lead? Yeah, great, okay. Should we set a film offering up and bring it into the school industry? You'd go to the commercial industry where people want to invest and spend really much more heavily. There's much more money, and they'll be able to brand their companies to grow and to scale. Schools obviously want to promote their they are a business at the end of the day. School, they need to make sure they're branded and they're doing everything there. So we're just looking at the numbers. In actual fact, it wasn't fair on the team, because they were absolutely brilliant, to be bouncing along.
Yeah.
We then started to question, and I think this probably might have been when I just thought, I know that we're making the right decision for them and for the company, was diversing and going, should we look at care homes and nurseries, and should we look at other businesses to keep it?
Yeah. Been exactly there.
Yeah? And I'm sure other listeners would be going, oh yeah, we did that, and we're off there, and we're doing that, and I'm down the golf club taking photos, and I just went,
Do a golf tour.
just stop the bus for a moment. Why are we looking to do that?
Yeah.
Why are we looking to go, and we can,
Yeah.
that's one thing that I'd like to think I can bring value. I can unpack a market and industry, and I know where the sweet spots and drive it to it.
Yeah.
Do we want to do that? Why would we want to do that? So are we, question mark, a film and photography business, take away school? What are we? No, we're a high volume school photography company. And so why are we at the care home doing films of, well, that's to prop it up. So if we do get the school film, I said, I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
We've got a fantastic team. They need to be focused and be free of actually working with some really great ventures, and that's what they're doing. So that was the decision made.
Yeah.
So was it fruitfully financially successful? No. In that sense, the schools don't make that sort of money for that space. The revenue comes from parents.
Yes.
That's where we get our money. We don't get it from the school. The school allows us to do the offering.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a share that if any listeners are looking at, well, what else could we do? I think there's an awareness around, you probably could make more money if you wanted to go over the fence to the commercial world.
Yeah.
So just be conscious what you're offering.
Yeah.
And that was it. But I wish the team like the best luck.
Yeah.
They were amazing people, hugely talented on what they put together. Just not the right
market.
market.
I think not quite the same, but for me, when I used to photograph weddings, I mean, there's probably so many people that are listening have gone through that process, photographing weddings and doing what you can and nicking a living here or there, nicking £2,000 a weekend to do something. But you're constantly chasing the next one. And the beauty for the school market is that we can probably predict really closely within the next year, 12 months, what we're going to turn over. We know that when we go into summer, we're going to do this.
Yes.
And to try to do that with wedding photography, and exactly what you say with getting schools to spend money, it's unpredictable.
Yes.
It's really unpredictable.
Yeah.
And it's not always as tangible as, if you knock on this many doors, you'll get this many bookings. I mean, I don't know about your sales team, but I know that there is just no rhyme or reason that Mark has to when he books schools.
No.
I could not give you a term or a week
Of what
going,
flows.
this is when it hits. And maybe a little bit, but there are so many times that they'll go into school and it'll be, oh, that felt cold, like she didn't want to know. 3 days later, she's on the phone, we've had a look through, we've had a chat, we'd love to book you.
Yes.
We're like, he'll say, I never saw that
I never saw that coming.
And he'll go in and say, I've had a great chat with them, and we spent 20 minutes talking through, they absolutely loved it, never got a phone.
Yeah.
But that predictability of the sale, of when the booking's coming, is really difficult. But once you've got it, once you've got the school and you know your numbers and you know how much your cost per head is and your turnover per head, that's when the school market for photography is fantastic.
100% on that. I agree. The predictability of this industry is beautiful.
Yeah. And the numbers aren't hugely, your numbers are my numbers.
Yes.
You know, we could probably work out if we were to sit there roughly
well,
where it's at. It's
we will be very similar.
Yeah.
We will be very similar
because
of the actual nature of it. And so I think that has a huge value to us as an industry. We should be really thankful to be able to be in an industry that we can predict so far in advance, probably within 5% as a maximum.
Yeah.
Revenues, the turns. What I think, I'd like us to talk maybe a bit about this in terms of the economy and look at the bigger, maybe come up 50,000 feet, really over it. The challenge that we're going to be facing in our industry is the spend. I mean, you know where we're going to go. It's everywhere, isn't it? At the moment, the conversations about increase on tax. You know, we're getting more compressed as owners. Yeah. I put a post on LinkedIn the other day, the 60 grand. I don't know if you saw that.
All of us.
You know, we were all there. We were all sitting it going. You know, I sat there with Cheryl and we were running through our numbers. Like we were end of Q1, preparing for Q2, and she said, "All right, well," I said, "with that national insurance contribution, actually, what is that mass now? What is that mass to?" And she was like, "Hold on a minute, 62,000, whatever it was, straight off your bottom line."
Yeah, go on.
Straight off the bottom line.
That hit is also then hitting individual families and all of our customers.
All of it. So energy, you've got you know, the rates increase. You've got tax. Everything's okay, rightly so. You know, I don't want this to be a political chat this one, but I understand why there's measurements and why there's the methods are being put in place. Whether we agree it or not is irrelevant. But we are where we are. Yeah. So what we can't predict is we can even then possibly you can predict within reason what the spend is going to be like, what the take-up's going to be. I think that would be really interesting for us this year, and that's why it's so important that we really, we are, as a businesses, we're really looking at our numbers.
I think as an industry, what we don't want to do is start putting prices down.
No.
Because I think if that starts, as soon as we start getting into that realm of companies going and saying, okay, well, let's put in a super cheap pack because that's going to book us more work. Because ultimately, it's not going to make them more money. You might book more schools and you might have a bit of a surge. But I think that as soon as it starts getting into a huge price reduction, then that's a war to the bottom, isn't it? There's not any winners in that, I don't think.
No,
because they have to creep back up again at some point to keep sustainable.
Yeah, it's a very popular, common saying that we would have heard is a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And many industries do it. You've only got to look at estate agents.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, great example.
The good old days of the 2% or the fixed fee of £5,000, it's 0.5%. Yeah. It's sell your house for £499. Next thing, it's sell your house for £35. Like it's whatever. Like it's a joke. And unfortunately, but what they've now had to do is when you look at that, not going off talking about estate agency, but what they've had to do is, okay, what else do we offer? Yeah. They're becoming more bespoke, luxury, you know, that all of that just had to adapt. Yeah. And what we don't want to do as an industry is just go, well, do you know what? There's less take up, make it cheaper to increase the take up. Yeah. What you'll be doing there is you'll become more of a busy fool and you'll be racing to the bottom. And if the industry collectively does it, give it a decade and you've crushed it.
It's in a big problem. Because you're going to lose good people who can't be paid a decent wage, a fair wage, to deal with all of the other stuff that they've got to deal with in their own lives.
But it's a balance, and it's one that we need to watch and track and address and look and tweak. What more can we offer? Maybe you offer another photo, maybe you offer a different package, maybe you can sweeten packages up to make it add greater value to the parent. I mean, a print doesn't cost us a lot, right?
Yeah,
it's pence.
Right. Yeah.
So can you add an additional that actual fact cost to us isn't great, but they're getting more rather than things like, you know. So there's So I
think we do have these price ceilings within the industry. We always have. And I think this comes back from when it was proof card days, probably pre your time in the industry.
in my day,
back in the old day, when it was all cash. So it used to all be cash. So these £5, £10, £15, £20 barriers were all real in people's minds, because that's the bit of paper that historically mum could go, I need 10 for the pictures, I need 15 quid. Your dad pull it out of his wallet, put it in the bag, there's no coins jingling around, and it goes.
Yes.
So I think we've always had this price cap thing, which now we're all online, is a little bit out of the way, and hopefully is a bit easier because we can offer sweetener deals, and you can offer a little bit percentage at a certain threshold, and free delivery at a certain point.
Yeah.
So there are ways that we can add extra value in without pulling that price point down.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, I mean, it's going to be tough by the sounds of it. I hope that we do find a place with it. But it looks like we're going to have an interesting year as an economy, and so it's just bringing value to the parent. It's just the whole thing. And for us, we're trying to run a business.
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, aren't we? We're in it.
Yeah.
You want to be able to support your staff. You want to be able to recognise and reward them. You know, just all of it. So, I mean, look, what did we say at the very beginning? It's a game.
Yeah, it is a game.
Isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
And you just got to play what you can.
I think going back on what you said earlier on about the fact of being able to offer the parent something that is of a value that they couldn't necessarily replicate themselves.
Yes.
You know, they're keeping it off their phone.
True.
Give them a product. We know that, I don't know about yours, but our biggest seller is digital downloads by a long way.
Yeah.
Now, how do we make that a little bit better? How do we inspire that a little bit more?
Yeah.
So I think all those different ways that we can try to add value without dropping that price point.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a real...
Yeah, I mean, in any business, it's just not what you do, especially if prices are increasing, if our costs are increasing.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a genius to work out industry irrelevant.
Yeah.
If you drop your prices and your overheads are increasing,
you ain't going to be that long to
give
go.
that 5 years.
Yeah, indeed. So, what are the stuff that you love? What have you found that you love about the industry that you've come into it and gone, I never saw that coming? Is there anything that you've...
Yeah, really interesting. I think the emotiveness is interesting. I think that part is what the speed of it.
Yeah.
We are in a very quick. It's a very quick move in terms of once. I mean, we will do 290, 300,000 heads this year.
Okay.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
All running through.
Children,
it's a lot of children. It's the what again? I think in answer, the efficiency of the production, the systems, the processes. I've had pretty good processes in the past, and when I look at what we're doing in Carmel Jane, the speed of it, the volume, because it's high volume. It's exactly what it says on the tin.
Exactly that.
So the high volume part of it has made my eyes open. I'm like, wow, okay. When it's going off,
I'm hitting that consistency as well. So as if you could just spit it out.
No. Yeah,
Because
the delivery of it all the way through from the I think the challenges are that yes, there's trends. We know that. We've spoken about that. Getting the right people at the time that you need them, i.e. the togs, and the support
and the
staff.
staff and the production staff.
All the support staff, so the support, the customer service, the packing. At one time, you know, we'll probably go from what we currently sit at 30, say 30 in the business. That'll go from 30 to 60. It'll go bing and then pick down. You know, it just, you know, and then all the togs on top.
Yeah. And those graphs continue.
So there is preparation, there is supporting the training. There's lots of things that we're working on and continue to work on, but that's been quite insightful to see how we do that.
And I don't think that's recognised, other than, I mean, people that are listening to this are only going to be school photographers. This isn't a podcast to go out to the world, really.
Oh, listen, I'm on it now.
Now a bit the big time. Got the couch. But it's not an industry that no one wakes up and says, I want to be a school photographer. No one, if you go to a comedy gig and someone says, what do you do? It's unlikely you're going to say I'm a school photographer.
Yes.
It's not really something that we jump about. But as a business and as an industry, actually, other photographers who do weddings and might do 1,500 quid, £2,000 a day on weddings, they do. We've all experienced it. They do look at the industry sometimes and go, "Well, it's McDonald's. It's shit. I don't want to do school photography. I don't want to do that." But actually, it's a consistent workflow. It's an efficient way that we get everybody through. And when you spend time in a school and you see 900 kids photographed in a day, and 98% of them are absolutely bang on, cropped right, exposed right, expression right,
Yeah.
ready to sell, through the machine, print, job done.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with that word what you just said there, the McDonald's of, if you are a photographer, like any trade, you know, that you're a great photographer is expressing it through being able to deliver an amazing photo. Okay, so they're obviously by heart, they're by soul, very creative people. So it's looking at it that, in my sense, it's yes, we are the McDonald's of it. And by a product of that, McDonald's being the most successful chain in the world. Yeah. Yes, we are. Yeah. And what a wonderful thing to be recognised as being a similar match to one of the most successful restaurant chains in the world. And yes, we are high volume, and the amount of work that it takes to be able to deliver the quality of the photo that we want to be able to provide to the parent, but en masse,
quickly, and also really with the school being happy at the speed we're taking, that they don't feel you've rushed it, but you're not in the way for too long. Yeah, it's a fine balance.
And every school, they are going to want to have to feel that special. Yeah. You know, they're going to want to feel that they're being listened to, that this is their moment of supporting them and doing that. And then you've got the parent at the other end.
Who's got a different set of needs.
Exactly, and so there are some really interesting challenges that we face through all of it. Yeah. And so I would say I think it's a fantastic industry. I think it's great fun.
And I think that what something you mentioned earlier on about not wanting to know the size of a business and not knowing is that there's an awful lot of parents that have got no concept of what's behind the picture. So when you get complaints coming, for example, and when we see stuff on social media about school photography being a rip-off and this and the other, I just don't think they understand. And why would they? No. I don't think they've got any concept of what's gone on, that photographer was up out of the house at 4:30 in the morning, that has had to run her kids to her mum's at 5 because she's the only care she's got. Yeah. I just don't think that, and I don't know what the answer is, if there is an answer needed, but I don't think parents necessarily understand what goes into it to try to create what that child looks like at that point. I talked to someone the other day and they said, we had a phone call and the parent was saying to me, well, why did you make my child cry? She was like, I just wish you could have been in the room because a child came in crying. I spent 15 minutes with her chatting and trying to play ball and all the other stuff. And she was the best she was before she walked out the door.
The best I could.
I didn't make her cry, she walked in.
Yeah, I mean, and there must, and again, because it's on high volume, you know, you're going to get challenges through there, aren't you? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So where would you love to see it go? What's your... Have you got a plan? Have you got a plan?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Talks about vision, right? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
so for me, I see that I want to scale the first place is I need to get to 1,000 schools. That's where we want it to sit. That's our first ambition.
Is that why 1,000? Is that
It feels right. It's achievable. Okay. You know, we're going to be at 600 this year. Yeah. We're scaling at the rate of about 150 schools a year, 200 schools a year. So tracking the numbers, it feels right. That's my 3-year picture. In terms of how I see it then growing from that, we need to continue to become better on systems, processes, more fluid and aligned CRM system. Like there's always work to make it better, and I think the industry needs. Actually, I think that just needs more. I think there's a lot of work to do there.
There isn't a CRM system for our industry.
No, and that's so exactly. So
So everyone's on a different.
And you know, and that's something that I'm already looking at. You know, what actual fact do I actually look to build and create and buy create a platform that is bespoke led CRM system for the industry. So if you fancy a partnership, we can talk about that one. So there you go. Something else is shiny. Typical magpies. So that in terms of targets and numbers, that's where we're looking to get to. That what that would look like. That would 1,000 schools. You're probably looking like something like 500,000, 500,000 heads. Something between that 450 to 500,000 heads. So that's the 3-year picture. Actual fact, it's a 2-year picture really. We're halfway through now, 2 years, but. So that's kind of numbers around it, but there's work to do in the business. The facility that we're in, that's going to be better. We're just going to become greater in that sense. In terms of geographics, you could go and do what we do anywhere across the UK, but can you service it?
Yeah.
And the servicing of it means by the photographer, by the delivery of it, by all things, by the sales or your customer service, being able to have that relationship with it. There's a lot of work, so you naturally just grow as you spin out. We're very strong in this part of the UK, so it's just continuing to grow, but scaling that's efficient and at a level. And I've seen companies, and I'm sure you would have done, that you can blow it up and it can actually fall.
Yeah, because you haven't got the management systems in place. You haven't got you haven't got the support for the photographers in place. And if a bit of equipment goes down and they're in Leicester and you can't get them you're in trouble. I mean, we look at Tempest as everyone knows it. And they are by far the biggest. Yeah. But they've got a
How big do you think they are?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, I think they are or were in and around 300 odd photographers.
Right. Because their website says something similar to that. But they're like, they are
10,000 schools, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, don't anyone quote me on this.
No, but it is, I think
it's up in and around that, and it was up there.
I mean, how impressive is that? Yeah. It's impressive, isn't it?
But their model is very different.
You should get them on the pod, you know.
Yeah, I'd love to.
It's great to get them on the pod.
Go down there.
I mean,
helicopter.
I'd love to understand how like the mighty do it in that sense. I mean, how impressive is that?
Their model with photographers is very different, isn't it? To what? Yes. Whereas we use a team of full-time photographers, team of freelancers that come in, and a separate sales team, and from the years that I've understood is that they've got photographer sales reps which will manage their own diary, their own areas, and
which brilliant model. But if you were to try and sell that to me now, said, right Neil, got this idea, I would say, mate, we're looking for unicorns. So you're looking for a photographer that's going to go and win the work, that's going to pretty much do everything, and then you're going to take a margin off the top, but yet it works so well for them.
Well, it's
impressive.
And I think that they've had, we talk about shiny pennies and stuff, but they've got their army stuff, they've got their graduation stuff, they've got their, they've started doing gowning and stuff off the back of that. But that, I think, is very similar to how your building stuff was going previously, saying actually this fits in and then we're coming in, and the whole reason we started adding photo booths into proms was going, well, why is someone else coming and taking 400 quid out of here? I could just have a couple of quid a ticket on and do 400 or 500 quid off of it. But yeah, it would be amazing to just try and get under the bones of that and understand, are they a complete unicorn that nobody could replicate that style now, because the time that they grew was a different time of parents ordering. It was a very cash-rich time. These big companies now were built fundamentally on big old wadges of cash, that might have allowed for a different way of scaling. Sale or return packs. We look at Scandinavia with the way they do it.
And like we were saying about that evolution and revolution, there's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of shuns I'm putting in here, but that's what we're doing now. That's the time that we're in at the minute. And so, in answer is, what's my vision, where we see it. I absolutely see it. There's continued to scale. I think there's still great opportunity for that. We need to just continue to be great and to continue to be greater all the time. Just always be looking at what we can do better. We do bloody well, like you, but we're always going to do better. And what does that look like? So, for me, that's my 3-year picture to get it to that. And I think that so how I would normally work will be, I'll look at a 10-year. But 10 years so far out, I can't really feel it.
Look 10 years back.
It's mad. So I look at that and go, okay, well, how big could that be? Well, in 10 years, that could be 2,000 schools. But in actual fact, does it need to be 2,000 schools? Does it need to be 1 million heads?
What problems come with that?
What problem comes with 1 million heads?
And that does come. There are sweet spots within. So over the 20 odd years that I've been involved with it, there are some certain sweet spots within the industry of numbers of heads that you get to, the size of your team that it needs to be at to service that well, as well as swallow the downtimes at the same time as servicing that. And you look at some companies that might be at 1,500 schools, and it's really hard. Really difficult. And you look at other guys that might be a one-man band with a freelancer, outsourcing printing. He might have 100 schools, work 5 months of the year, probably earn 85, 90 grand to himself after all costs. You think,
And now that's the thing, and that is where, you know, looking at my old company, so Securo, we got it to a level in the earlier day. Mitch and I had an engineer out there putting them out. I was the sales, so believe it or not, I like it.
Don't believe it.
Believe it or not, I like sales. But, you know, so I'm out there. Mitch is on his operations, he's very methodical, you know, he was brilliant. We worked so well together. I was so lucky to have a partner like that. He was that, and so that was perfect. And we probably did revenue about $250,000 a year, maybe 300. And you could have gone, stop the bus.
Yeah, this will do.
This will do.
Yeah.
Why didn't we? And I think I always ask, and which I do now, and I'll continue to do because it's just in my DNA, how good could it be? How great could that be? And we just kept pushing boundaries, you know, and then we mentioned earlier about the 40,000 revenue we got in the month. Great, well that was £500,000 a year, so 40, could it be $1 million? Yeah. It's only a few more grand, could it? And it just goes from there, and I think then, so yes, you could, and there are lots, I'm sure, great photographers that are out there with a really happy pool, but you can't become any more than that.
But that sometimes that suits people.
And if it suits, then
we see all the thing. I don't know if you saw the thing with Gary Stevenson without wanting to name drop him recently.
My God! Oh my God! Have you listened to it?
Yeah. It's all over the shop, but you just think it's not for everyone. If you're trying to spin a narrative, that there's an awful. If we didn't have people that just wanted to come in, do a job, get a job done, go home, we wouldn't have a business.
No.
Like, they are so important.
No.
But then by the same token, you can't... I tried that for a number of years, got to the point, couldn't. I had to find out what the potential was.
Yeah, and now you're on your journey.
It is, and the journey is the fun bit.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
journey is the good bit, picking up the kids from school and making sure they're there.
That's what I've said, absolutely. So, in answer, so you were talking earlier about the where you think there's a sweet spot. What sweet spot do you feel there is, and is there one? Not necessarily for you, but just what's I'd be interested in what your opinion is.
I think it's very dependent on the owner and the senior leadership team that you've got in place, and the vision and all the stuff that you've spoke about that you've actually got as a system in a book.
Yes.
I think probably a lot of people have got roughly in their head, and you must see this all the time. Someone goes, "Oh, I don't know it, but I probably don't do it very well."
Yes, I'm not shared it, and I'm not clear with how we're going to deliver it.
Yeah, that delivery of it and that understanding is probably quite different. But the suite, I mean, so I was involved with a business that we went from 200 odd schools when I started. When we left, there was probably 1,500 schools, I don't know exactly. But there were some struggles along the way, and there were some difficulties along the way. And it's always easy looking back with hindsight. You can kind of go back and go, actually, when we had 10 or 15 photographers less, and when we were not doing quite as much, just chasing our tail and trying to do stuff for the sake of doing stuff, then the business might have been way more profitable at that point. Like 800 odd schools with a real core team. I mean, I've referenced James Sinclair a few times. I know he's a friend of yours, and I listen to all of his podcasts and all of the stuff that he's done for years and years. And there's so much sense that he speaks there about how he's saying, well, when you get to maybe 15 staff, you've got these thousands now, it doesn't matter. But when you get to a certain stage, there is then a transition period. And with restaurants and nurseries, and when you get to a certain number of businesses, you've got that facility to manage and run them.
Yes.
But when you've then got dead space, when you're trying to climb to that next part, you look at the mountains you were talking about. You're going, okay, well, we get up the mountain, and then there's another bloody cloud, and you can't get through the cloud until to see the top of the other side of it. So sweet spot wise, I don't know that there is one overall answer.
Overall,
I mean, Tempest will say 10,000 schools.
Yeah.
Whereas I could answer you another guy that would say 100 schools. And I'm more happy I work 5 months a year.
Yeah, I mean, so what I hear there then is it's really subjective. Is the word of, well, actually, fact, it's what you want it to be.
Yeah. And
because you could have 100 schools, and it could be this is perfect.
Yeah. And what level of, it comes back down a bit to level of risk, level of involvement, level of management. Do you want one meeting on a Monday and you've got a team of people that you fully trust and they buy into the vision? Because it's a lot easier to scale up to 2,000 schools doing that than it is when you're micromanaging everyone, saying you must make sure that you're doing this because this is what I say.
Yeah, well, my team would tell you. I don't micromanage at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's similar to how I run mine, is that I've got a team of people that I trust, and I don't necessarily need to know where they are all the time.
Yeah.
If you need to be at your kids' play, be at your kids' play.
Yeah.
Because I trust you're going to answer.
And we have to be that as owners now, don't we? Is that a huge foundation is the trust, like we spoke about earlier, but it's also like, let them live their life, and it's being acceptable and welcoming to say, you know, we're all parents, majority of, we have families, things happen. Yeah. And I think if you give and allow that, and really you'll get so much more back.
They have to take priority over a specific job or uploading a picture before 7 o'clock, or whenever you upload it before 7 o'clock, it doesn't matter if it goes the next day. If you've got to be pick your kid up or take your kid to hospital or doctors or something, that's got to be more important.
But that's where you're now creating and building a really beautiful culture, and that's where the rocket, and that will take you all the way.
That's where the culture is something that is really vital. From our and we share that with everyone.
You want
we want to make sure that everyone feels valued and empowered and able to go and say, look, I need to take Thursday off because I've got to go to the dentist. Is that okay? Well, of course it's okay. You don't have to ask me for that. And from when I very, very first set up, and when I took Martin on, it was our first employee in COVID 5 years ago this week. When we took him on, it was a case of me saying, I don't want to have to manage you. I want to be able to trust you and kind of give everyone the opportunity to screw us over a little bit and to take the piss. Give them the opportunity to do that, but motivate them enough that they don't.
Yeah.
Because that's always worked for me so far. Touch wood, I don't know if we've been lucky, or I don't know if it is luck, or if it is just culture that works. But
I think,
giving people the opportunity,
I think it's what you're about,
giving people the opportunity to take the piss if they think they could get away with it, or actually, every single time so far, it's been the reverse of that. They've given more. They've given more than we would ever expect. And I've had to say to a couple of our guys, look, I don't expect you to answer emails at 9 at night. And she's saying, well, it's fine, don't worry. I'm doing a school run in the morning and I saw it and I didn't have anything else that I was doing at the time. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, and that's that part where you get right person. I actually did a post on it, I think it comes out in a couple of days, and doing right person, right seat.
Yeah.
You've got to get the right person, that they get it, they show up. They're just, there are people in your business, they're just the right, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
Great, do you want a cup of tea? They're bouncing around, I did that, I'll sort that out. They're just in the gang, they fit the culture.
Yeah.
Is the right person is what we want to find, but we equally need that right person to be in the right seat.
Yeah, very much so.
So they need to know what they're clear on what their roles are. Do they get what the role looks like? Do they actually want to be in that role? And have they got the capacity? Have they got the right training, the skill set? Do they actually know what that role is? You've got to have both, and if you do, that's rocket fuel.
Absolutely brilliant.
And that will be brilliant. And it's getting that, and that's that's a balance, and that's the. And but if they're in the right seat, they're the right people. You just have a wonderful culture, foundation of trust.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it really does. And then when you have your nights out and your awards evenings, congratulations on them. We need to get involved with that. I'll tell you, I need some black tie.
So fun, yeah.
But when you do them socials as a team as well,
so much love in the room.
Do you ever get I step back and just look and go, wow, this is mad.
This is mad.
This is what's come from nothing.
Yeah,
all
it's so.
Genuine friendships that are built throughout the team, and you think, bloody hell, this is.
Yeah, it's always a very special thing because you're all working, you're in a work environment, but when you just get together, get collectively, it's great. And it doesn't have to be the wall. It doesn't even just take the barbecue down the office and crack the barbie open on a Friday at 3 o'clock. Just do bloody bangers and beer for an hour. I don't know, but just getting teams together. Yeah. Harnessing the culture of the company. It's really important.
Yeah, and that shines through in everything that the company does. Yeah. The next phone call they pick up from an angry parent, they've got a smile on their face.
Yeah.
They're not resentful of everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, we could probably go on for hours.
I know, right? I know, really enjoying it.
We probably could go on for hours and probably will do another time. But I think that if we call it a day there for today on the podcast, we'd love to come back to this again in a couple of years' time, and we can both kind of go, actually, where did we go to? Where did we go? But if anyone needs to reach out for staging, for EOS stuff,
So on the EOS side, it's just Neil Sweeney EOS. You'll find me. Go on LinkedIn. Linkedy Dink is my place. Is my home for that. And then Carmel Jane. Carmel Jane. Just got to Google it. You'll find us there. But It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really good to sit. Welcome to the office of the Sweeney's casting couch. But no, Lee, it's great what you're doing. You're forging something that's not actually been ever done before in this industry, by what I see. So good for you. I think I'm totally cheering you on from the wings. I mean, it's just going to be great. Even just allowing us to have this convo. This doesn't feel difficult. It feels like there's just, you're actually being able to bring people to collaborate, and I love it. So good for you. I think it's brilliant.
I really appreciate that. I think that if we can get to that point, it's not about this. None of this is about me doing this podcast. It was just from that night or from that day. And then we went into the evening, didn't we? Oh my God, you're right. What's his name? I feel so bad. I can't remember his name.
The Irish. He was so fun.
I need to find him. Wherever you are, come and find him. We're going to Dublin.
Yeah, he was fun.
But I think that really just cemented that we've got people that are naturally competing.
Yes.
But there is so much good to be done and be had from it.
Yeah.
So even, I was over the I told my missus that you had gone up to see David about the stage and stuff.
Yeah, so good.
And I'm like, she went, all right.
And that was absolutely down to what you've done this pod.
But
that was 100%. Listen to the podcast. David was brilliant, very grounded, like we are. And that's look at how grounded we are. But no, love what he was saying. Very aligned with what he was doing. And I thought, let's get up there and go and see what he's doing. Let's understand the print. Let's just go and meet him. So yeah, it's fantastic.
If we can get more of that, then everyone wins, don't they?
Yeah, it's great.
I mean,
Thanks, mate.
It's a pleasure. Is it?
Pleasure.
Thanks so much. Episode 8's done.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks.